the week to defend Colonel Terry Lakin. I'm Peter Boyles. Good morning, 6:30 KHW on a Wednesday. I'm going to get a quick drop with him. We're going to come back to some other things, but he has been certainly the guide for me through much of what is the truth about Barack Obama's legacy. He's a PhD from Harvard, Dr. Jerome Corsi, and as I said, he raised everybody's ire on the Democratic side when he wrote Unfit for Command about John Kerry. Then everybody on the conservative radio stations loved him. Then he wrote a scathing book on George Bush, and they all hated him. I mean, he's like, and I like guys like this a lot. He joins us. The question I have this morning, Jerry, because we're going to talk to Colonel Lakin's brother again and some other people. This is his week.
Good.
And I brought this up as a question I've been philosophically kicking it around. Suppose, what did Grace Slick say? When the truth is found to be lies. Suppose everything pans out and the things that you believe about this president are true. Would he have to resign? And if he does resign, what would happen to all legislation, proposals, health care mandates, and the rest of it? What can you just sort of philosophically speak to that?
Well, it's uncharted territory because it's never happened in presidential history. I mean, first of all, he'd have to be removed from office because if he was ineligible to be president, then it's usurping the office. And that's found out to be the case, either impeachment or resignation or some remedy. And then, yes, all the actions done by the president while illegitimately in the office would have to be questionable and maybe all rescinded. The executive orders, certainly, laws signed would have to be in question. I mean, conceivably, everything the president has done would have been null and void because the presidency was ineligible to begin with. It'd certainly be a constitutional crisis. It's uncharted territory because we've never gone through it in the history of the United States.
I agree. Also, I believe that nobody wants to be the judge that allows this to happen. And the military, of course, denying discovery to Lakin. And I read this JAG colonel's opinion on this was not going to be the courtroom where the eligibility of Barack Obama was going to be tested, rather that Colonel Lakin just refuses to go. And so they tell his attorneys he's not allowed discovery. He can't go to Hawaii or Occidental or Columbia or anywhere. So what does that then tell you?
Well, the courts, including military courts, are reluctant to enter into political issues. And, you see it with the Supreme Court getting into the Florida recount in 2000, which made George Bush the president, and Democrats, have said for a long time George Bush was selected, not elected. But the Lakin case is particularly interesting and difficult because he's commander-in-chief is ordering Colonel Lakin through the Pentagon to go to Afghanistan. Now, the Nuremberg defense, which we established at the end of World War II in prosecuting the Nazis, is, a matter of conscience can be raised if an officer or any soldier believes an order to be illegitimate. And if they're questioning the commander-in-chief's eligibility to be commander-in-chief, that's a serious charge that the Nuremberg defense would give him the right to pursue. So I think this judge is really completely out of order in saying that the chain of command will only be examined at the Pentagon.
Well, that's the beef, or at least what I'm able to understand. They say the orders for him to go to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, came from the Pentagon, and so that's where the buck stops. His defense attorneys go, no. The agenda was not set by the Pentagon. The agenda is set by the sink.
The attorneys are correct, and what the Nuremberg defense was all about, the German soldiers who went through World War II, had the Holocaust, perpetrated the Holocaust, and they were all saying, well, we're following orders. And our tribunal, the Tribunal of the Allies, won the war, said, no, you cannot do that. You've got to say, if the order is illegitimate, you won't follow the order. That's a matter of conscience, and issues of morality or concern about the correctness, legitimacy of orders are appropriate and can be raised by the military after the Nuremberg defense. That goes to the presidency, and that's what Colonel Lakin's doing, and the judge, I think, is completely out of order in not allowing that to be proceeding to the president.
But, again, and I find agreement with you, although, the Nuremberg defense, they never went to the rank and file. As I pointed out, that if you read the history, there were wartime trials held all over Europe. I mean, it wasn't just Nuremberg. Nuremberg was just for the men at the top, or the men they could
Correct.
get their hands on. But there were trials. The Russians held, Soviets held trials. There were trials in Poland. I mean, there were trials literally across Europe, and
also down to the ranks. I mean, there were
absolutely
abuses that were considered to be in various actions. Even today, concentration camp guards, the few who remain alive, are pursued.
Well, yes, they are.
When they're found, they're brought to justice.
And one of the things that has always been interesting in history, John Toland and others, how the emperor escapes all of that. He never has to stand trial, which he he should have. But
see here, the risk that Barack Obama is running is that I'm getting more and more information all the time. This is what happens in a presidency when information is withheld and documents are not shown. Eventually, they come out.
Oh, it will out.
It comes out.
Yeah, it will out. Yeah, it will out. Yeah.
The truth is going to be known here, and it's much better. Going back to Nixon, presidents that hide documents are taking a big risk. Really, the cover-up in Watergate was what destroyed
far
Nixon,
worse.
Far worse. And here again, now you've got a very extensive cover-up going on, and this judge, the Army Colonel Lind, is perpetrating the cover-up by not allowing Colonel Lakin to pursue the issue of the eligibility of the president, which is the core issue in the case.
Yeah, I read her opinion, and she said, no, this isn't the courtroom you're going to do this in, and oh, by the way, this is a Pentagon order, and Lakin's attorneys say, no, wait a minute, stop. This comes from so. But the showdown is coming, and now this is the week to support him, and his trial is scheduled for December the 14th. But really, one more time, and I know where you are, I know what you're doing.
I'm in New York. I'm working. I still at Guilford Securities. I'm still in the securities business, and people should know the Red Alert newsletter is available through Guilford Securities, guilfordsecurities.com. That tab at the top, Financial Services Group. If you click it, you'll see my picture, and that's the group I manage. Fill out that form, and we'll get you Red Alert.
That's Jerry Corsi's.
I really wanted to mention that to your audience.
Okay. I read it all the time, so I'm telling you guys, it's good stuff. We'll put a link up from our website as well. But suppose, just real quick, that all of this, the cards get turned over and the bona fides or the records are shown, and there are enormous holes in the president's story. You call it the nativity story. What would be the reaction in the country?
Our country will be incensed and will demand the president's removal. I mean, there'll be supporters who will resist it, but it was like the shock that occurred with Richard Nixon when documents were finally found that made it clear that he had advanced the cover-up of the Watergate break-in. And the American public would react the same way. The American public do not like to be lied to.
One of the differences is that for a year and a half or 2 years, the pursuit of Richard Nixon took place in the mainstream press.
Right.
And Nixon was Nixon. There's been no pursuit of this.
Well, but today I think the talk radio, World Net Daily, the internet in general, these are more powerful than the mainstream media ever was.
I totally agree. Their time has come
and
and gone.
And millions of people are now onto this issue. I did publish after our last discussion the article on Wikipedia scrubbing Colonel Lake. That article went to the top of the page yesterday. It's still on World Net Daily's homepage for 2 days. It drew tremendous attention.
That was the guy that found me, and he found me because of our work, and then I put him on with you, and this guy just uses the name Al in Florida, but he had his whole Wikipedia page scrubbed, and that's up there what was taken down. And it's pretty innocent stuff. I mean, it's not.
We have it all. We've got the original that was there.
Yeah, he sent it to us.
I want to mention one more thing before I'm going to have to run here, but this is the other issue here in the Lakin trial is this: that if Judge Lind persists and limits the issue to the chain of command of the Pentagon, and they convict him and they put him in a military prison, Now you've created, like in the Ramos and Campion situation,
Absolutely.
two Border Patrol agents who went to prison for shooting after a drug smuggler.
Absolutely.
And this case will take on dramatic proportions the minute Colonel Lakin is put into jail.
I agree.
And that's another risk. And the White House and the Pentagon, I don't think, have thought through this. But now Judge Lind has got this on a collision course. And I think it's just a matter of time until either they decide to drop this case or they create a cause célèbre in Colonel Lakin. And his courage and determination, I think, like Ramos and Campion, will make it a national issue.